This is Jordan's Cocktail Hour, and I'm your host, Jordan Soul. This is a show for, about, and by LGBT asylum seekers and refugees in the Netherlands, made by COCLimburg. COC is our national LGBT rights organization, and Cocktail is the name of our project for this very special group of newcomers, who I like to refer to as family. However, anyone else who wants to join us today is welcome. Recorded in COCLimburg's Café Rosé in Maastricht. Once again, with my co-host and amiga, Scott. Let's get started.
Okay, so we're back with episode 9. Today's theme is about Dublins. I don't think a lot of people know about the Dublin procedure, and it's really affecting a lot of people, pretty much also outside of our group that are asylum seekers. And so for that, we have an interview with our good friend Kelvin, and we have an interview with our good friend Akram. In the middle of that, we are back with our educator section, and we have Sebastian from Prep Nu to explain everything and all the millions of questions that we have about Prep.
Well, first of all, hi everyone. Actually, it's very informative as well. Everything we do here is very informative.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. So, we got 2 more episodes left, so we got to get it all in there.
Yes. So, the first question I think we all have is like, what is Dublin? What is the Dublin law?
Right. Okay. So, the Dublin is a law that's made by the European government to make sure, basically the reason they're doing it is because they want to make sure that people don't shop around for a country, that they don't go from France to Italy to Spain, like to see who offers them the best deal in asylum, if you could say it like that. Because people were doing that, and so it was causing a lot of problems, for Europe with an overload of asylum seekers. So basically the rule that they make is whichever place that you enter Europe first, and get fingerprinted, or you have a visa from this place, or basically if you're traveling through and they catch you, it can be many, many different reasons, but wherever you're registered to be first, in whichever country that is on your way to or whatever, you have to stay there and finish your asylum procedure there.
I think it's very important to know that you cannot, because we don't know so much about the European law, but it's important to know, like, if you ask for asylum in Spain, you are not allowed to ask for asylum in any other country in Europe, Spain, or the Netherlands, or wherever you ask for asylum. That country needs to figure it out.
Yes, they need to decide on the asylum. The problem is a lot of people don't know. And if you, for instance, started in France for whatever reason, like Akram, he had a visa for France but never really went there, just got off the plane here in Amsterdam and asked for asylum. But because of the visa, I don't know how to explain that fast, but his Dublin is in France.
Yeah, because he has a permit to stay in that country.
Which means that if you get here and they see that right away, because they can see in the computer, they will send you back.
Yeah.
And that's
so
a big problem.
So it will be just a waste of time. Although, as we can see here, some people luckily can work it out, but I have to say it's not that easy to work it out. So.
No, I don't think, and using the word luckily is kind of difficult in this situation, because it meant for them years and years of waiting unnecessarily. And if it had started the proper way, they would have saved a lot of time.
Yeah, even though I have heard sometimes that even though if it's not in Europe, but it's outside of Europe, they could also use the Dublin against you. So
yes. So all that to say is that if you're watching this and you're still planning it, make sure you understand how that works. And for those people that are not even asylum seekers themselves, it's probably something you don't even know exists in this world. And for those that are asylum seekers, it's always interesting to know what's going on with your people around you. The sad part about the Dublin, I find, is that the only way to get around it, it's a very, very strict law. Very few people have a way with their lawyer to get around it. Sometimes if they're, they can do it, but mostly no. The only way to get around it is that you have to wait a period of 6 to 18 months in between before you can ask for a new asylum in the country where you wanted to ask the asylum at.
Yeah.
Which means, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. What's going on in that period of time? Like, you don't have any yeah,
You have
any
nowhere to
help.
go. Yeah, if
Let's
you
say
don't know
from the
people,
government, you are basically illegal. You cannot work. You cannot study. So it's actually a waste of time, and it's really hard.
yes, and we unfortunately, I don't know the number, but we have many, many people that this happened to. And I have somebody, for instance, from the beginning when I started, and it's now 5 years later, who still doesn't have their status because of this whole problem. The other thing is that there's also human trafficking happens a lot. Most of the time coming from Africa, and people pay to come here and end up in all kinds of problems. And they usually end up in Italy. And Italy is not really a good place to be as an asylum seeker.
I mean, let's say it's important to mention that not in every single country in Europe you will have the same, kind of process you have
Yes.
here. For example, I mean, I know the accesses are not the best thing, but there are countries that they don't even have accesses.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about all of that today, and we're going to let the people that have experienced it kind of tell their story, because I find that they are not heard very often, and it's really, really a terrible, painful situation that we have LGBT people on the streets because of this, really, really strict law in Europe. The other thing I wanted to talk about personally is that I said it sort of in the last episode, which is that in the week that I had a suicide and corona, also my really good friend Orlando passed away. It's not necessarily just for me personally a tragedy. It's for many, many people who knew him, loved him, and cared about him. We were all really shocked because he died in his sleep. It wasn't like we saw it coming. But why I bring it up today and why I bring it up for our show is because Orlando was a really, really big part of starting what I do now. He was there at the very beginning when I first started making the events. And he introduced me to AHF, which ended up, AHF ended up doing hundreds and hundreds of HIV-free tests at our parties. They ended up sponsoring the party when we went really, really big. When we went to 300 people or more, we had to move to a bigger venue. And we got a lot of money from them to do that, which never would have happened without Orlando.
Yeah.
So,
and I think we all remember Orlando with his high heels walking around in the party and really making us smile. So I think it's very important to mention that here.
Yes, so we miss him, and we really wanted to honor him and say, thank you for the help that you gave us, and we're super sad about it. And so we send our love to his children and to his family, and we hope actually when things get a little better after Corona that we can do a proper goodbye party or something for him to honor him.
Yeah, because really is incredible how many people knew him in Amsterdam and everywhere. How helpful he was with anyone. I mean, even personally. And so you don't see people like that every day. So
No.
I think it's important to mention that.
Yes, he was the kind of person that if you had a problem, he will just help you to solve it. And his home was always open to me, and very sad.
Yes, but he will always be in our hearts.
Yes.
And
Yes. So thank you, Orlando.
thanks a lot.
So now we go to our first interview, which is Kelvin, and he's from Nigeria. We love Kelvin. He's so sweet and so cute, and we are really grateful that he, also shared this story, because as I spoke about it in the last episode about Russia and how difficult it was to get people to talk about it, the Dublin thing, also difficult for people to talk about. Because not many people like to talk about the fact that maybe they had to live on the streets and be really in a really, really bad situation. Most people just put that behind them.
Yeah.
So
and actually, if you have been in that situation, we see you as a brave person that really has get over a really hard situation. So
yes, it's really one of the most complicated situations you can get into as an asylum seeker. So let's start with Kelvin, and we talk about it when we come back.
Let's check it out.
Today we're talking about, mostly talking about what it is to be in a Dublin procedure, which is quite complicated. And a lot of people in our group have had this problem, and I think they don't know about it before they get to Europe.
And so I asked today for Kelvin to come and talk to us. I know he has some experience with it, sadly. And so, Kelvin, welcome.
Hi, Kelvin. How are you?
Hello, Jordan. How are you? Hello. Nice to meet you guys, and thank you for having me.
Yes.
No, we are happy to see you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Listen.
Thank you.
So, Kelvin, we're talking about Dublin. Maybe you can explain a little bit about how this happened to you. How did you get a Dublin?
Yeah, it happened because when I got here in Holland, they told me I first applied for an asylum in Italy, and for that reason, there is actually a law that states that the first country I like applied for asylum have to be the country to decide on my on whether to give me the permit, the residence, or whether not to give me the residence. So that really affected me in a negative way, both uh, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So it's a really tough situation and a bad situation for we asylum seekers. And I pray nobody should be in that situation.
Right. So basically, it just means that wherever you come from, that wherever you
Yeah.
start,
The
wherever you
first,
enter.
the first European, the first European country you fingerprinted like you applied for asylum should be the country to decide on your case, to decide if to give you the residence or not.
I have a question. Did you actually
Yeah.
ask for asylum in Italy before coming here, or you
Yes,
just
I did.
went?
No, I did. I seek for asylum in Italy.
No, okay. So it means
Yeah.
it's like if you ask for asylum in any country, European country, there is the place where you
Yeah.
need to ask
You have
for
to
it.
stay there. They won't let you
Exactly.
go to another country. But it's also can
Yes,
happen
you
to
have to
people by
stay there.
accident. You can not know that, and you start in France or wherever, but you wanted to come to the Netherlands. But if you get fingerprinted in
Yeah.
France, it means you have to stay there to do your asylum
Yes,
process.
yes, yes. And I think if there is a way they can actually scrap that law, like remove that law, because they are like caging a lot of people in a country they really don't want to be in.
Right, but
Most especially,
when you came here, they
yeah,
told you it's not possible, to get asylum right now in the Netherlands because of that.
yeah.
Usually, so what happened then?
They told me if I'm able to stay in the Netherlands for more than 6 months, then it's the right of the Netherlands to like I'm no longer entitled to be in the Dublin procedure, that I have to stay in the Netherlands and they have to decide if to give me the permit or not to give me the permit. So I'm more than 6 months here. I think I'm more than a year. My own case was somehow difficult and a bit different, but I thank God they were finally able to let me stay in the country. Although I haven't gotten the permit yet, but I feel like a big relief. Like I feel more lively and I feel more alive.
Yes.
So now you don't have to leave the country anymore after those 6 months.
N- No, no, I don't have to go to Italy no more.
Well, your
But
case
it
was
depends.
quite complicated because we were stressing about it until the very last day. We thought you had to go back to Italy, and then actually,
Yeah,
mostly because of Corona, you ended up being able to stay in the Netherlands. It's not just
yeah,
because,
yeah.
yeah.
So in this case, we can say he was like kind of lucky to get that.
Yeah, he was lucky about Corona.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I
it's
think
nice to know that at least somebody got lucky with Corona.
Yes, that would be
yeah.
good. We don't really,
Yeah, so
in the end, we don't really care why. We're just glad that you got to stay because you were really super stressed out and frustrated at the end. And
yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
we didn't know until the last day. But
yeah.
you're here now, and now we have to support you through the regular process.
I think
Yes,
it
thank you so much.
would be important to ask for the rest of the people that is also in this process. Like, did the IND let you know that you have to leave the country? Did you have to go through some kind of process or something like that? How was it for you?
Yes, they told me right from the beginning I have to leave the country because it's not their right to protect me. That I have to go to Italy and seek for asylum there. And I explained to them my situation and everything, that even if I'm sent to Italy, definitely Italy will send me back to Nigeria, but they said they understand my situation, but they really have nothing to do about it because it's the law that I have to go back to Italy.
Yes, and
So it was
also
this coronavirus that really helped me.
when you were actually in the, as it say, going through this process, it was also DTNV who contacted you and said
Mhm.
that you had to go back and started to make arrangements for you to actually get on a flight and go back.
Yeah, yeah. The DTV actually called me twice. I went to the DTV twice. The first time, um, I think it was last year August. They called me and they told me I have to go back to Italy, and I said okay, no problem. They said they will apply for my plane ticket and everything, and I have to do the coronavirus test. And I told them okay, I will cooperate so long they don't take me to Nigeria. And they said okay, no problem. So it was, I think, 1 week, 2 weeks from there, they called me and they told me the flight was cancelled. And they said I have to wait for my lawyer to give me other information. But I waited and waited, and they still they sent me a letter again, and they said I have to go back to Italy again. And it was February, they called me again and they said I have to go back again. And it's really stressing, with the stress and everything. I just said, okay, whatsoever they want to do with me, they are free to do. And I was lucky. I got a message from DTV on the 10th of February, and she told me I can now stay in the country. That they don't want to send me back to Italy no more. You know,
Well, you
you
know,
could
those
see the
those
big relief.
people, those people are just doing their job, but really that it's so stressful for you all to go through that process. And I wish they
Yeah,
could find a different way to do it, to just decide yes or no, but not leave you yes, and maybe no, and then yes. It was a really bad time.
yeah. Yeah, I actually think if they can make it a bit faster, like if someone comes here like a week, 2 weeks, they should decide. Not They shouldn't make someone suffer for so long. Like I suffered, like I have to wait 1 full year today, thinking they might come get me this night. Tomorrow I can't sleep. The stress and everything is just too much. I think if they can make it just 3 weeks, 2 weeks, or a month, at least tell them, come, we won't protect you. If you have to leave, leave immediately. Then it will be much better than making someone spend 6 months, 1 year, then later telling the person to leave. It's it's really affecting we the immigrants. It's really affecting us a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad that we're keeping you, and you know,
Yeah. Thank
I know,
you.
I know that you have also some talents. I heard that you can
Yeah.
make things on a sewing machine really well, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned to make it in Nigeria and I'm very good at it. I just need a sponsor like to go back to store and be more perfect in it. Like I'm very good at making like this thing I'm putting on. I can make it, and yeah, I'm a bit talented. I can't say I'm super talented. I'm a bit talented.
Yeah, don't be modest. It's fine. We know. I
Yeah.
already know you are. So, um,
Yeah.
anyway, I'm glad that you were able to share with us a little bit of your story today, because I think that
Okay.
Dublin is something. I think that Dublin is something that people don't know anything about, and I
Yeah.
wanted on this episode to really talk about that because
And it's very important because it
Okay.
happens very often.
yes, people have to stay 6 to 18 months on the street sometimes. They don't have
Yeah.
anywhere to go. They can't really go back to their
Yeah.
own country. They really don't want to go back to the country where they have the Dublin,
No.
and
No.
it's not.
And there's something they ought. There's something I know. I sometimes I don't blame the Netherlands government, but something they have to know is if we were comfortable in the country we were living, I don't see any reason we'll be going to other countries to like want to start again. In Italy, it wasn't really easy surviving there. It wasn't easy because for with the LGBTQ community, they tell you in Italy you are free to live your life, you can do whatsoever you want, but you are really not free. Sometimes they stone you, they throw stones at you, stone you with eggs and stuff like that. And nobody wants to be in that situation because we are escaping from our country, trying to get a better life, and we are also facing other problems in a European country. So sometimes you just have to like let go of the laws and just have human sympathy and like we listen to our stories. We are not all of us are making up stories. We are all just trying to survive. We want to have a good life.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think
Absolutely.
this doubling procedure is really messing up our heads. And you see, a lot of guys go back to Italy and they start doing things they're not supposed to do.
Yes,
So
it
they should
actually puts
please,
people in
yeah,
a really
sometimes
bad
consider
position.
us.
Yes, it's really
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
So anyway, Kelvin, we really want to thank you. We're out of time for our show, but we
Thank you
are
so.
super glad that you are staying in Holland, and we are really looking forward to see what you're going to do with your life here.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Jordan. Thank
Kelvin.
you, man. All
Okay.
right. Bye bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Okay, thank you so much, Kelvin, for that interview. So kind, and he kind of highlights what is the most common way that the Dublin is affecting people, which is the people that are coming from mostly Africa and Nigeria and end up in Italy for mostly all the wrong reasons. Some people plan it. Some people plan to go to Italy but don't know about Dublin. Some people end up in Italy by accident, trying to get somewhere else and get caught there, fingerprinted there, and they get stuck with the same Dublin situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, really tough, but luckily everything worked out for Kelvin. So that's
it did, but let me just tell you, I was there like step for step with it, and even I, at the very end, was not sure anymore what was going to happen.
Yeah,
You know, the only reason that he really ended up staying in the Netherlands is because Italy didn't want to take him back because of Corona. So it's not like these situations don't always work out the
Yeah,
way that you
as
think.
we said, right, it's not really easy to get around of that situation.
Yes.
But
Well, we did
y-
with him,
yeah.
thankfully, and he's
and
staying.
you can see how smiley he is and how he's like proud of his history, and he should.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes. So welcome, Calvin. We're glad you're still here, and thank you for doing that interview.
yes.
So, okay, we go on to our prep situation.
Da-da-da-dan.
Da-da-da-da.
Guys, there we go with our informative moment.
Yes, this is our information educational section. Back to sexual health, very important.
Yes.
We can talk about it for 20 episodes, but I think we're getting the most important parts.
Nah,
Like
yeah,
we had
yeah.
GGD, we have PrEP, we had SOA, it's Nederland, and
is-
we will have HIV.
This is also a big deal because, first of all, PrEP, we don't have it everywhere in the world. And yeah, so let's have a look, right? We
Yes.
really spoke a lot about
Yeah,
it.
it was not meant to be kind of a short interview, but it ended up being quite long because it was so informative on so many levels. So, Sebastian, thank you for doing that. And let's have a look at it.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Sebastian.
Okay, so today we also wanted to, as promised, talk a little bit more in-depthly about PrEP. We've had many talks about it, but I thought it would be best to bring on the experts. And so today we have a very special guest from PrEP Nu. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, very good. I'm very happy to be here. So my name is Bastiaan Verboekert. I am the chairman of PrEP Nu, which is an activist organization which is fighting for PrEP in the Netherlands and the access to PrEP in the Netherlands. But that's my sort of what I do during my free time. And then during the day, I am a doctor and researcher in the field of HIV. So I'm a little bit sort of knowledgeable about this field also on the medical aspects of all of this.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. It's very nice and useful to have you here because we have many questions for you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, no, I thought maybe it'd be good to start with the beginning of just explaining basically what's HIV, but also what is PrEP in regard to HIV.
PrEP, that's what I'm told. Talk about that as a way to prevent, so make sure that you do not get HIV. HIV is an infection, it's a virus, and if you get that, it can enter your body and it can affect your cells, your immune cells, and they can get destroyed, which is a bad thing. Luckily, there's a good therapy for HIV nowadays. There are pills you can take once a day, usually, and they can prevent you from getting sick. But it's even better to make sure you never get HIV, which is sort of the same kind of pills that you can use for that, and that's what PrEP is now. So it's a way to make sure that you don't get HIV infected.
Yeah, great that, because I mean, like, as we say, is the best thing to do is to prevent it. So I
Yeah.
guess that's why it's called PrEP, because prevents it.
Yeah, what does PrEP actually stand for?
Yeah, so it stands for Pre-Exposure Prophylaxis. That's a lot of very difficult words, but sort of loosely translated, that means that you, before you get exposed, so the moment where you get exposed to an HIV virus, you make sure that you have something that protects you, which is a pill that you take every day, or surrounding sex. So it puts a little coatings, let's say, a layer around your cells that protects your cells against the virus and make sure it doesn't enter it.
Okay.
And how can we get access to that medicine?
So that's a little bit of a difficult question. We've been fighting for this for quite a long time. There's a few ways of getting PrEP. All the details, by the way, are on our website, prepnu.nl, which also has an English version. So for the details, I've referred you to that. But in general, there's basically two, maybe three ways for this audience to get PrEP. One is through the municipal STI clinic, so the GGD, which is, lots of people know this already. They have special programs for men who have sex with men, so gay men or bisexual men or other men who have sex with men. And they also have a special program now that supplies PrEP. The costs there are the lowest, which is $7.50 per month. And there you can get all your checkups for free, which you need when you start PrEP. And you can get the pills for $7.50 per month. That's one way. It's a little bit difficult sometimes because the program can be full, there can be waiting lists. So we know a lot of issues there, but definitely find out at your local STI clinic. Second option is going to your GP, which most people have. Also, when you're in asylum seeking centers, where you can ask for a prescription. The tests that are usually covered, which can be quite costly, but they're covered by insurance. But the pills themselves, you have to buy then because they're not insured. That can be a little bit more expensive, but if you find the right ways, you can get them for around a little bit under 25 euros per month. So that's it, but you need a prescription for it.
Oh, okay.
We have found that in the AZT centers, when the group members go to see the doctor, which is quite a complicated process, it's not so simple.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really misinformed in the offices of the doctor.
Yeah, sometimes they don't even know what PrEP is.
Yes, we even had somebody say to one of our people that they didn't know what HIV was.
Yes.
So that's
So,
not.
yeah,
so
I think
simple.
it's very important to our group. Like if you go there to the GCA, it's very important to explain it really well, to find the ways to maybe find contact with your LGTB contact or something like that, that really could explain that, because we know that people from the GCA not always knows about it, and it's something really strange for them.
I think as a Dutch citizen, even the GPs that we go to in the Netherlands are not always completely up to date or informed about what PrEP is and how to go about giving it to people.
Yeah, it's not that easy. You need to be really persistent, actually.
Yes, we heard about these issues as well, that's why the reason why we contacted some of the doctors at the GZC's. We talked to one doctor at Budel, the AZC in Budel, and he said that actually quite a few doctors are currently prescribing PrEP, that it's standard of care, so it should be done, and it also should be covered by the insurance, that there is with exception of the pills, but it's done, it's possible, which obviously doesn't mean that every single doctor will help you in the right way. There's two things that you should do. One, be persistent. So make sure, feel empowered. If like I'm saying this, I'm a doctor and I'm a gay man and I'm using PrEP myself. Yes, it's okay to ask that question to get PrEP prescribed. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel scared away. Don't let them say that you should just use condoms. Those are not arguments to not use PrEP. So feel strong. Second thing is, if it doesn't work out, if you fail, email us. So we have our connections. Our email address is hello@prepnu.nl. We'll help you. We'll talk to the doctors for you. We'll contact them. We'll find alternatives. There's always a way to get PrEP. So feel strong, be encouraged to take the step, because that's very often quite a bit of a leap to start doing this. I mean, there's lots of questions that you can ask yourself. Am I really at risk? Usually when you're asked that question, the answer is yes, because you are at higher risk than what you think, because you start thinking, do I trust people? But I think what COVID has taught us, and how you can get infected from COVID, is that you cannot really always trust people or symptoms, or just infections happen. And there's general ways to protect yourselves. And for HIV, one of them is PrEP. It has very, very little side effects, and or potential side effects, and it's very
Right. That was my other question, Sebastian. Like, in the case that you already, okay, you go through all of the process and you get your PrEP, does it have any side effects, and how do you use it every day? Like, any recommendations about it?
Sure. So let's start with the side effects, because that's a bit of a story in itself. There's two things. There's short-term, really symptomatic sort of things that you notice, side effects, and there's long-term things that you may not notice. Short-term things is people get nauseous sometimes a little bit. They get an upset stomach. Their stool is a little bit different sometimes. That can happen. Some people have a little bit of headache. Sometimes you dream a little bit different. Those are things that happen infrequently. So most people, that's important to notice, most people have no short-term sort of side effects at all. If you have them, you can switch the type of in which you take it. You can stop it, obviously, for a little while, or you can continue for longer, and then after a few weeks, often those side effects disappear. Those aren't harmful, they're just annoying. There's a few things that you need to know, which is that there's two ways PrEP can be harmful to you. One is, if you already have HIV, it's very dangerous to start taking PrEP, because PrEP is not enough to treat your HIV. And the risk then is that your HIV virus becomes resistant to the drugs in PrEP. Most people in the Netherlands that have HIV in the Netherlands, they use the same kind of medication that's in PrEP, and it would be such a waste to use those, to not be able to use those medications anymore. So the way to prevent that is make sure that you're HIV negative, so you do not have HIV the moment you start PrEP, and you do that by taking a test. That is why you need to go to a doctor, and the doctor will test you for HIV before you start using it PrEP. So that also means never ever use PrEP from friends at parties, not before you got tested for HIV, because that's a risk. And people do that sometimes, but it is a bad idea.
Yes.
Something else that is very, 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 very infrequent, but does happen, is that people get a little bit of problems with their kidneys. Their kidney function declines a little bit. When you stop the PrEP, then that increases again, but you don't feel that. So that's the reason why your kidney function needs to be checked in your blood by your doctor, to see if you don't, make sure that you don't have that side effect. Is that clear?
Yes, very clear.
Very clear, and very, very important, because sometimes we just don't know. What about this, for example, like you say, I'm taking the pill every day and I forgot to take my pill one day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe start with the ways, but which was the question that you already asked, is how can you take PrEP? Yeah. So there's two main, I guess, ways of taking it, which sort of can flow into each other, but a lot of people just take it every day. One pill a day at the same time, more or less. And when you start doing that, after about 5 days of taking a pill a day, you are protected against HIV. The chance, if you take your pills regularly, like every day, as the way you should, the chance of you getting HIV infected is almost zero. There is a little teeny tiny chance, but it's extremely rare. When you don't take it nicely according to the schedule, there is obviously a chance that you get HIV infected. So always take your pills the way you should. There's an alternative to that, of having to use it every single day, because sometimes people don't have sex that often, or sex with people exchanging partners that often. So you can also take it around sex. That's a little bit more specific. That starts with taking 2 pills at least 2 hours before having sex, up to 24 hours, but before you have sex. And then one 24 hours and one 48 hours after that first dose, so after those first 2 pills. So then in total, you've taken 4 pills around the moment that you had sex. That's also a way. And then you can continue using it every single day after, if you've had multiple dates, or if you keep still having sex or being at risk, and then you just stop 2 days after you had your last time you had sex. So people play with that a little bit. You can go on holidays, for example, and take it for 2 weeks, and you start with 2 pills, take it for 2 weeks every day, and then you stop again. Or you have a date in the weekend, and then you take 2 pills for on Friday evening, and then you keep taking it until Tuesday, so that all the things that happened in the weekend at the parties that you went to, make sure that sort of you are safe there. Yeah, so that's kind of how you do it. And then you asked me what you do if you forget a pill. Well, that's obviously a little bit of a difficult question. If you're taking it every day, once skipping it, maybe even 2, that's fine. You'll fine. There, we've seen data of studies that showed that if you at least take 4 or 5 pills during 1 week, so of the 7 days, you're still fine. You're still protected. Better not do that, obviously, because you don't do that to save money. That some people do that, and that's a bad idea. But don't worry, you're okay. If you forgot the first dose of those like 2 pills, that's a little bit different. And then I think I would recommend calling a doctor and to see what you could do, because there's also some options where you, instead of PrEP, you use PEP. And PEP means it's not pre, but post. It's like not before, but after you've had sex. And then you don't get PrEP pills, but you get actual HIV medication, the 3 things that people with HIV also get, for about a month. And you can get that from your GGD or go to the hospital. This is any advice good also if you're not taking PrEP at all, if you've had sex without a condom with someone that you aren't sure of their HIV status, or they haven't been tested recently or something like that, and you think, and you've been the bottom, so if you've been receptive, those kind of the criteria for PEP, then you can get that as well, which is important to know. And that's all insured, and people know what to do when you ask about that.
Yeah, I think with PrEP being in the spotlights, the PEP part sometimes is not heard about as much anymore. You know, it used to be all we had before,
Yes.
But because of PrEP, PEP has sort of not been so.
Well, for a very long time, that was the only thing we had. And I think now is when you have to use PEP, you're kind of too late with the PrEP. So it's kind of a way we should really be preventing people from having to use PEP, because we now have an alternative. But yes, it's good to know.
And I think this is, well, something that we already know, we talk about, but I think it's important to talk about again, is like that. The question is like, of course, PrEP just prevent me from HIV, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not any other STD.
Absolutely right. There's a little bit, herpes also is a little bit affected by PrEP, so it does got a little bit less, but you can still get herpes. But there's a little bit of an effect, but it doesn't work for syphilis, it doesn't work for gonorrhea, it doesn't work for chlamydia, and it doesn't work for hepatitis B, C, whichever virus. None of it works, any of it. So yes, if you have sex without a condom, you're at greater risk of getting any of these STIs. That's important to know, which can be very much of a problem. This is also exactly the reason why you should get checkups regularly, every 3 months, like the regular programs, and as well as when you go to GP or ACC, wherever you go, every 3 months you should get checkups where they check for STIs in your blood and with swabs in your throat, and with a bit of a urine sample and a swab from your rectum or the anus. So that's important. And obviously, no one is forbidding you to use both PrEP and a condom, because a condom can also help you prevent those STIs. But we know that it's difficult for a lot of people to use condoms. Doesn't happen that often. And I think it's also going down a little bit, the condom use. So in that case, PrEP is a good alternative. But if you're super, super loyal and you know every single time with every partner you use a condom, then you're fine. You don't need to have PrEP at all, because then there's no reason, because you're very good very protected against HIV and STIs. But yes, well, reality sometimes is a bit
Yes,
different.
we need to be a little bit more realistic about
Yes.
it. I mean, it's a personal choice, but yeah.
Yeah, look, that's what I always say. It's a personal choice. I don't really have any judgment on what anybody does or wants to do. I just want everybody to be informed. Whatever their choices are, that those are things that can happen or not happen.
Plus,
Yeah,
as
and
we
there's
said, in our group, there is people from everywhere in the world. And sometimes you just get here and it's like, all right, does it work like that? Or how does it work? So I think it's a personal decision, but it's very important to protect ourselves.
I think you should be informed about what PrEP is, exactly what it does or what it doesn't. I mean, this is one of the things. For example, a question is that if your partner is using PrEP, are you fine? Are you safe then to not use a condom and also not use PrEP? I always say no, of course not, because you're having to trust the other person. Not sure how often he took his pills, if he did it the right way. All those questions, you should take your own health in your own hands and make sure you are protected.
Right.
And
We're
I
all
think also
responsible.
one other
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
you cannot put your health in
Someone
somebody
else's
else's
hands.
hands. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I also think that condoms and PrEP aren't the only thing where you can be conscious of your own health. There's ways you can say maybe it's not such a good idea to have many partners of sex. You also reduce your risk if you have a little bit fewer partners, because then you are at least risk. Or if you use drugs a lot, that also helps you be more a bit strong in your way of protecting yourself. And then so there's lots of different ways to mind your health. One of them is PrEP, one of them is condoms, and other things is be smart.
Yes. Either of them is fine.
and to get tested, to be tested often if you're really active is important. It's just not any different as with COVID, what's going on,
Exactly. Yeah. It's how infectious diseases work, and unfortunately, gay men have had a bad hand of cards in that respect. So we need to be sure.
Yes, that was very informative. Thank you so much for all of that information and for your time.
Yeah, we really appreciate you, giving us your time and explaining this, because we're reaching quite a big group, so and it's on YouTube, so you can watch it whenever you want. So we noticed that over time their views keep kind of going with some of the episodes. So
that's great. Yes. So I think important to say is that if there's any questions left, you can always email us. We'll always have someone responding to those.
Yes, we will make sure to put the website
somewhere
in
here.
The picture.
All right, Sebastian. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so all right, that was Sebastian. He really answered a lot of questions.
Yeah, we had a lot of questions.
Very important, and also very little details that I'm sure everyone that is on PrEP will have it. So.
Yes, and we've put the website and everything in there, so you can always contact them. But I think that we didn't leave a stone unturned, so I think we pretty much discussed everything.
Yes, I think that was as far as you can get in information with PrEP and with every single detail.
Yes. Well.
And yeah.
So anyway, so now we go back to our main subject, which is the Dublin situation. And I asked Akram to join us today because I actually know Akram really well and I've known him for a very long time. We forgot actually to mention in the interview that he was also a volunteer for us at the party at the gay refugee walk-in for AHF, helping the people to do the HIV tests. He did that for a long time for us, and he's also a friend, and his story was really just so interesting to me that I felt like I really wanted to ask him to talk about it today.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at that.
Let's check it out.
To go on about the subject about Dublin today, I asked my friend Akram to come join us today. Akram, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Jordan. How are you?
I'm okay. I think that, we have talked about before, that a lot of people don't really know about Dublin and how this affects people and what a big deal it is and what a big problem it can cause. I know you came from Egypt and you came here. How did that process go that you found out you had a Dublin?
Well, I didn't know at the beginning. I arrived here in October 2018. I applied directly. Then they told me in the first interview that I have Dublin because I took my visa from France. And the Dublin is Dublin, France, so they will transfer me after the court order to France. This process, it took 6 months. Then, or maybe 6 months before, like 2 or 3 days, they transferred me directly to France.
Yes, I remember this moment so well.
Yes, because I asked you before it.
Yes, you called me and said they were transferring you to France, and that
Yes.
I was quite shocked because I didn't know that was going to happen.
Me neither, because my lawyer was telling me maybe the court order will say no, we keep him here because in France it's not that safe. And anyway, I went there and the lawyer told me it's okay, don't worry, France is like here, they provide everything, and it's a European country, so they will keep you in an as it say as well, and they will provide legal aid like you provide with a lawyer. When I went there, there wasn't any shelter, and they told me go to the Red Cross, ask them for a shelter. I called the Red Cross. Nothing provided because I'm single and there is no family, there is no children, so the priority goes to these kind of refugees. So I stayed in a hotel one night. The second day, I managed to find a transgender girl. Stayed with her 3 days, thanks to a common friend. You know him, of course. I will not mention names. Anyways, then I returned back to here, to the Netherlands, after exactly 4 days in Lyon, France. What happened? I stayed for a month and a half. Then the lawyer told me that I have to apply again because IND doesn't know that I returned from France.
Right, because just to clarify, you stayed only in France for 4 days and realized this isn't going to be working out because you have nowhere to stay. And there was
no place to stay. And I talked to one organization there. They told me we cannot provide you anything. Find a place to live, and we cannot also provide you money or anything. So I have to find a place to live. I have to find money. And how can I eat? I didn't find any help over there.
Yeah.
So I thought what I'm doing there, no assistance, no money, no shelter, nothing. So I returned back because I have a lot of friends here, and also there are some organizations here can provide you with some money, with shelter, with a lot of opportunities here. Also, and I have few friends. I stayed with them for a long time.
Can you also talk about what are those organizations that really helped you? Because I remember we talked about you coming back being the much better option to come here than to stay in France and have absolutely nothing.
Of course.
But
of course.
What organization do you feel helped you the most?
There is an organization called ASKV in Amsterdam. This organization mainly is for undocumented people, like people who are staying in Amsterdam or Amsterdam region illegally, because they communicate with the Stadloket where you can find a shelter. Also, they communicate with your lawyer and they have like a legal contact with you, helping you till you apply again.
Right. So because there's a period in between the time from the time that you started the Dublin till the end, which can be 6 months to 18 months, where you have to wait to reapply.
Yes. I after the second application, which got also rejection in November 2019, I waited since November till March this year.
That was a really long time. to wait.
It was 18 months. Yes.
And
18
so
months.
basically, as I'm talking to you now, just this, I think it was last Monday, you started your procedure again in
Exactly, yes. Yes. And I'm here in Tel Aviv since last Monday, not yesterday, a Monday before. I'm waiting now either to be transferred or I will be staying here in Tel Aviv. I don't know yet.
Yes, as we were talking about at the moment, everything with IND and COA is quite uncertain.
It's very slow.
Yes, and very slow. So again, after 18 months of patience, you're being asked to be patient once again to see what's going to happen.
Yes. And as far as I know, that even the process of the application, they say it may exceed 6 months, as I heard. I don't know why, even if they are hiring a lot of task forces to finish the backlog they have.
Well, the problem that we have is that the task force isn't prepared to do LGBT cases. So they may be helping with the backlog with all the other cases, but a lot of the LGBT cases, they keep being stopped in the second interview by the task force to say, oh, we need to find someone with more LGBT experience. And then they get to a third interview, which sometimes is weeks or months later. So
I heard there are cases with fourth interview now.
Yes.
But why?
Not to make you any more stressed out.
Why? I cannot wait more 18 months, huh? That's enough. I'm not young anymore.
Well, let's just hope that by the time it's your turn, they have some of this stuff straightened out, because it's really been a mess. But what I also think that is important to know is that, okay, in a way, you were lucky in an unlucky situation that you had some contacts, that you had some people to stay with. But what would have happened if you didn't have
that? There is a big chance of, if you have the ideas of committing suicide, if you don't have any door to knock on, maybe you will kill yourself at the end.
Right,
because sometimes when some of the nights I was alone, nobody was accepting to host me. Either I had the thoughts of killing myself or I was staying in the streets.
Because there is no other place to go, when
exactly. Recently, the Amsterdam Loket, or the Stad Loket, since June last year, or maybe earlier, they decided suddenly to change their policy and not provide shelters for any Dublin cases.
Oh, I had not gotten that information yet. That's pretty serious.
This is new. This is very new. This was like the second half of 2020, or like June, May last year.
Yeah, of course, I'm in the south, so I hear more things that happen here with this kind of thing.
Yes, I thought you don't know that. Because at the beginning, I told them I cannot stay in the shelter they provide with people in the same room. Because, of course, they will not provide shelter with LGBT background. But I asked them, please provide me with a shelter with a single room. They cannot provide that. Then they told me, wait a bit, maybe we can find you. Then after that, I went again to ask. They said, no, we don't provide any Dublin cases anymore.
And basically, that's the only thing that's left for you, is that kind of shelter when you're in that situation.
Yes.
So
yes.
I didn't want to drag up the past, but I just wanted to
it's fine.
The people who have no idea that this is happening in our country, that LGBT people are ending up on the street because they're Dublin, or sometimes for other reasons as well, that they're not believed to be gay or whatever their situations. But for LGBT people to end up on the street, I think is really just so painful. And
it is painful. It is very painful.
Yeah. So I sadly, it's one of the most strict rules in Europe, immigration, is the Dublin, because of course, from their side, I understand they don't want people shopping for a country, to go from country to country and say hi, can you give me asylum? But at the same time, the real story is that people are on the street for months and months. If they look, if you go into that situation knowing about Dublin, you can prepare yourself. But if you end up in some country on your way to another country, and you get the Dublin there, it's like that
which
there's
something you were not prepared for and you didn't know it, so you're in a complete shock because you don't prepare for such.
It's life-changing, you know?
Of course.
So
and this
anyway,
affect me psychologically and anyway.
No, I know. That's why I wanted to ask you to talk about it, because I know you so well, and I've been through this whole story with you that I really wanted to highlight it, because it's really a terrible thing that you had to go through, and really you already came here because of bad situation or whatever, and then you get here and you're in another bad situation for years. And I really
it's almost 3 years now.
Yeah. And really, that was not really needed for you, you know.
No.
So I hope that at some point they find another way. I saw actually today some things on TV about it, but I think it will take a long time for that to change. The good news is that it's behind you. And now
luckily the interview with the IND wasn't bad like before, but the interview with the police was horrible.
Why was the interview with the police so different?
Because they saw that I have Dublin and I left the last, as it say, because of Dublin. Why are you back here again? Why are you applying again? And you know that you have Dublin. Then a lot of questions that they were assuming that I am not the same person in the papers because I left the passport with them. I don't have any ID. But when I pointed out the paper proving that they have the passport, they are in a complete shock. Okay, so this is the legal person.
That's really shocking, because what if you could improve it? Oh my God.
I was actually thinking of making an official complaint, but I didn't decide yet.
Well, you're now making an official complaint to many people.
No, but this was a little bit annoying.
A little bit. That's really awful. So, look, I know you're like right back at the beginning of another journey in this process.
Yes, and I don't want to start it with complaints. So let's wait.
Well, I don't care about that part. I just know that it's the beginning again of another period where you have to be really patient. But I'm just glad that that other part is behind you, and that you can now start to look forward to just doing this process the correct way. And hopefully we can congratulate you soon and say, like,
I hope so.
Welcome to the Netherlands officially.
Yes, not illegally.
Not illegally. You know, it's interesting because you and I have known each other now for a long time. You and I also know each other more like personally and going out and Amsterdam and all these kinds of things.
True.
You know, and
when are you coming to Amsterdam? I didn't see you for quite some time now.
I promise it'll be soon. I think that, you know, because what I wanted to say is that I think a lot of people would have met you out there and had no idea that all of this other stuff was going on with you. You know, you're just meeting people in a gay situation, whatever, bars, places. You're just there, but nobody knows that you're going through all of that. Of course, I did, but it's been quite a journey, and we're gonna stick it out. We're gonna be here with you until the bitter end, until you get that damn document. And
I hope so. I hope so. Soon, because I'm.
Yes, I can tell. But you know, the end is in sight. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about it on this show, because it's a really big subject that we barely got to touch.
But I hope it's fruitful and worth keeping for other people to help them.
Well, it's on YouTube, you know, so it'll keep. We're getting, the first episode has over 1,300 views since December, so people can watch it when they want to watch it. We give the link to all the new people so they can see it. And hopefully, yes, maybe it can inform somebody even before they start this journey, so they don't have to go through it.
Hopefully.
You know? That would be really great. But my main concern now is that you're okay, and that you're here, and that you're legal, and that we can keep you. And
I hope so.
I wish you a lot of luck in the next coming weeks to go through this process all over.
Thanks a lot.
And
Thanks a lot.
You know, we keep in touch as usual.
Of course.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Ciao.
So that was Akram. Wow. Really, thank you so much, Akram, for telling that story to us and letting us put that online. I'm really just doing those things because I'm really hoping that it will help someone else. It's not that I want to just expose everybody's personal stuff, but I think that these things can help somebody who's watching it, or at least somebody who doesn't know about it, understand it, and maybe they can explain it to someone else later.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it happens more often than what we could imagine.
Yes, it happens
Really.
a lot. Yes,
Like, even though if it's somebody that is not from this asylum seekers group and is watching it, it really happens. It does exist because it's also for them, for anyone in the Netherlands or anywhere that doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's really important that people know about it. And, if they don't know about it, it causes years and years of stuff that could have been easily avoided. So I hope that just putting it here will help somebody.
As we can see, how long has been Akram in that situation, stuck?
Yes. And just being really, really stressed out. Same thing for Kelvin. He was super stressed out. And he's all happy and smiley. But I was with him many, many times when he was really, really down about it.
Yeah, and I can imagine you also choose that because those two cases actually ended up in a positive
Yes, and I have to say,
way.
thankfully, I don't know that many people that actually ended up getting sent back to their own country, because that can also happen in the process. I think if I have to count for sure, I know 2 people that were sent back to their country, and one of them still apps me.
Yeah, because I mean, like, sometimes you are here just by yourself and you don't have anyone to talk with.
Yeah. So anyway, we hope that today's episode gave out a lot of important information for everyone, about the Dublin. Also that there's hope, that even though things can seem really, really bad for years, that eventually, it can all work out.
Yeah.
That's
and
what we hope.
to keep it, so we hope, and to keep it strong, like keep going, keep pushing it, keep positive. Like all of these people that we have seen through this podcast is also had down moments. We also had hard moments, but we are here. We are queer. Get used to it.
We definitely are that. So anyway, we want to thank everybody for watching, for the messages that we get from you, for the likes that we get from you. I know that there's not much going on during this time for you, and that this is the best that we can offer at the moment.
Yeah. And it's the best time to learn anything. We can all learn a language. We can all learn about sexual health and how to manage that for the rest of your life in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, folks.
Yes. So, thanks a lot. And we really hope you liked it.
Yes. And up to our last episode coming up next.
Yes.
So
don't forget
tuned.
the
likes.
Okay.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much, everyone, for watching today. We really appreciate your love and support, and we hope you will join us again next time. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, show us some love with likes and comments, and don't forget to share our show with your friends. We want to especially thank the COCLimburg, COC Eindhoven, COC Netherlands, and Mika for the camera work, editing, and post-production, my co-host and amiga, Scott, and of course, all of our amazing guests. Thank you so much. Do you have questions, ideas, or comments, a shout out, or do you want to be on our next episode with a talent or to tell your story? Please do let us know. WhatsApp 06111209990 or send us an email at cocktail@coclimburg.nl. See you next time.